Hey everyone! Welcome to my show, Classroom Without Walls, using technology to reimagine education. And if you are here and if you can see us and hear us clearly, and please give us a heart or give us a like so that I know we are good. I started this show because I believe our society has changed a lot, and technology and social media play a huge role in our changing society. And therefore, I think as teachers, educators, whoever you are teaching, and we need to embrace technology, we need to embrace social media and change how we interact and how we teach our students. On this show, I interview leading professors, educators who are using social media technology as an educational tool. So if you are new to the show, welcome and thank you so much for joining us and checking us out. And if you are returning attendee of the show, and I sincerely appreciate your support and thank you so much. And if you are watching this on replay, future people, and thank you so much for checking this out. Any question, leave in the comments and we're going to get back to answer your question. And today is truly my honor to introduce Dr. Paige Giroux to join us. And she is a science communication specialist at Louisiana State University Science College. And she is a blogger. I check out her blog, amazing. And she's a teacher, a researcher, and also a social media user. Her specialty is in using social media, especially Instagram, as a teaching and a research tool. So I feel truly honored that she's with us today. By the end of the show, you are going to walk away with tips, resources, and best practices of using Instagram as a teaching and research tool. I know I am going to learn a lot. I have my notebook with me, and I'm excited. So without any further ado, let's welcome Dr. Paige Giroux. Thank you so much for joining us, Paige.
Yeah, no problem. It's my honor.
Is there anything you want to add to the intro I gave, which is really short? I was looking at your LinkedIn, it's very long. It's like I can't cover that much.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, so I guess orienting the listeners, I have a background in science, so I was a biomedical engineer for a long time. And then at some point I stopped, ended a PhD program early and moved into a PhD in mass communication. And so from there, in my studies in mass communication, I decided to focus on science communication, especially how scientists are using social media. So that's what really interests me. And so I've taught classes on social media. I've looked at how scientists are using social media, and then trying now to get more students in the science classroom involved in using social media too.
Awesome. I love to hear that. And we're going to get started here. And thank you so much if you are already here. Hi, Ro, and who else is here? And thank you. Please give us a heart and type us, where are you joining us? Type in the comments section so we can say hi to you and know where you are. So we're going to start with an icebreaker question. Given that the summer is almost over, so which one is your favorite season and why?
My favorite season? Well, I'm in Louisiana, so it's kind of summer year round. There aren't a whole lot of seasons here, but I do like the spring and the fall here because it's really nice, not so hot.
That's great. Yeah, fall is definitely my favorite season too. Okay, now we are ready to start. And I always start by asking my audience this why question. There are lots of professors embracing social media, but at the same time, there are lots of educators, teachers, educational professionals not embracing social media, maybe being afraid of it for whatever reason. So what is your why? What brought you to this journey?
Yeah, I mean, the social media, for me, it was a very personal journey in starting to use social media. So in my PhD, I started a PhD in biomedical engineering. And about a year in, I just started thinking like I might want to do something different. I was getting frustrated. But at the time, in the middle of that year, I had started a science blog. And the more that I started science blogging, seeing the power of social media to communicate science, I started becoming really interested in that. And I decided that, hey, maybe I could do this for a career. And so I decided to pursue the degree in mass communication because of my blog. I applied to the grad program, and my only clip or portfolio, my only showing of the fact that I was a communicator was my blog. And so a lot of opportunities grew out of my social media presence personally. So when it came to do my studies in mass communication and to study science communication, I was immediately drawn to social media and how scientists were increasingly using social media to do things like share their research, but also attract students and that kind of thing. So social media is definitely very personal to me, and it's brought me a whole lot of opportunities and connections.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so my next kind of why question is, there are so many like social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, you name it. And why Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram has actually started for me in the past year or so. Before that, I was definitely more heavily using Twitter and my blog. But I started to see Instagram as this place where a lot of, well, first of all, I help communicate science for the College of Science at LSU. And so going into classrooms and starting to talk to students about this, I would ask them, are you on Twitter? Do you blog? And they would say no, but they were on Instagram and Snapchat. So I thought, like, this is a way to potentially reach new audiences. So students are already using Instagram, but not in professional ways. So I started to see the power of that potentially open up for, especially for students, opportunities to professionally network on a platform that they were already using, but not using professionally. And so just the fact that we're increasingly visual as an online community, people love to see visuals. Visuals are getting more attention. Instagram kind of makes sense as a way to share science in a different way. And so, as scientists are kind of making their way into different platforms, Instagram is one of those, growing in popularity for scientists.
Oh, that's awesome. I know I definitely need to improve my Instagram, how I use Instagram. I post lots of at least I used to lots of baby pictures, like basically every single meal I have eaten, I posted it there.
Yeah.
And so this is very interesting to hear. So we discussed kind of the why question, and how about the juicy part, the how? Can you share with us some tips and best practices that audience today, they can walk home and they can apply right away? So if you can share with us 3 best practices or tips, practical tips, and people can apply, and that would be great.
Yeah. So I guess no matter what your use or your purpose is, so obviously use of a social media platform should always follow from your purpose. So always think strategically, who is your audience? What is your purpose for being on that social media platform? So if you're using it for teaching, it's going to look different than if you're using it for networking or to share your research if you're a scientist. But 3 things kind of in general that I just think apply regardless is obviously Instagram is first and foremost visual, right? And so amazing visuals and engaging visuals are going to do better than things that aren't very visual. So thinking about just taking your images to the next level. Sometimes that doesn't always mean quality. It can mean looking at something a little bit differently, or having a unique kind of spin or angle on something when you take a picture, or taking pictures of things people don't normally get to see. So I think scientists have a huge advantage when it comes to this. We see things in the field and in the lab all the time that regular people, people who aren't scientists have no idea, never get to see those things. So it can be a great way to kind of share the behind the scenes. So thinking about your images, there's tons of resources online for mobile photography best practices and looking at your composition and trying to get better photographs. But there's also, like I said, ways to look at things a little bit differently and try to get creative with your pictures. So one is, focus on the visuals. The other is not to forget that it's a community. So it's called social media for a reason. It's all about making personal connections with people. So if you're using any sort form of social media, but especially Instagram, as just a broadcast tool, you're not going to get the power out of it that you will if you're using it to form a community. So find other people who share your interest, follow them, chat with them, send them messages, comment on their pictures, start to build a community around yourself of people who are interested in what you're interested in. And I think you'll start seeing the power of Instagram. And then finally, the only downside of Instagram for me is that the search APIs are not that great. So unlike Twitter, you can't just search for someone. Like, you can't just search biology and find everyone who uses biology in their bio. So it's not necessarily very searchable. So everything is run through hashtags. So you really have to start thinking strategically about what hashtags you use so that your content is discoverable. So think about, what do other people who share your interests, what hashtags might they be using? Hashtag SciComm, hashtag SciArt for science art. Look up, are there hashtags related to teaching that you might want to find and think are useful? So spend a little bit of time figuring out the best hashtags and don't just kind of randomly use hashtags that you think might work.
Yeah. Those are some really, hold on. Ankle. Those are some really great tips. And I just want to ask you, maybe if you can elaborate on the second point regarding building a community. I so agree with you, and I see this on myself. I used to use social media as a way to just self-promote. Oh, I got this award. I have this publication. This is happening to me. That is happening to me. So I love how you mentioned building a community. So if you can go a little bit deeper, like if someone is new to social media or new to Instagram, how do we find this community? On Facebook, you have Facebook group. That is the easier way to get you started. You can join a group. There's a community there on a topic you are passionate about. But how about Instagram? How do you find the community? Like, I need to beef up my own Instagram game, and I want to find a community. So how do I do it?
Yeah. So, like you said, for Instagram, finding the community, again, it's kind of hard to search. And so starting with hashtags is a really great way to start finding community. So there are some third-party software and apps that you can use. Social Rank is one. You can, if you have it's a free tool, but you can just pay versions of Social Rank. And if you pay for one version, you can actually search people based on their interests on Instagram. So you can go through other people's followers. So let's say you find a big, scientist on Instagram and you start going through their followers and see who follows them, and there might be other scientists in that. Is that
right? Social Rank?
Yeah. There might be other scientists in that person's followers that you can start, building and following those people and start getting a community. So it's all about kind of searching and spending some time exploring and then using hashtags that those people might be using. So if you can start with, if you already have a presence, for example, on Twitter, there's definitely a lot of crossover in these different social networks. So you might have a community, already on Facebook or Twitter. Try to see if those people are on Instagram and follow them there. So yeah, it kind of takes some exploring. But once you find that community, once you find, say my community is young scientists on Instagram. Once I find a couple of those people, if I start interacting with them, commenting on their posts, I'll start seeing other people comment there. They might even follow me because they see I'm interacting with that person. So by interacting, you start to build that community because people start to realize, hey, you're one of these people too. You're a young scientist too, and I want to follow this person. So yeah, that's what I would encourage people to do. It's just kind of start to interact as much as you can.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And using tools to identify people and start interacting. Are there certain, can you give us some examples of images they post, or do you give your students some like assignments ask them to do, and if you can like share with us some like specific examples or pictures or assignments you gave them, that'd be great.
Yeah, so a good example is we have, there's a little bit of background. So at LSU, I work as part of our Communication Across the Curriculum program. So it's a program that helps students across campus, but for me, especially science students who are in their science classes, gain communication skills while they're in their science classes. So we try to help professors build in communication assignments into their science classes. So there's this introductory biology lab that has started to do this. They're introducing students to communication assignments. So one of the things they're having their students do is throughout the semester, they have experiments where they're growing plants and under different conditions. And so we're giving them the assignment of having to Instagram the growth of their plants over time. And at the end of the class, they create a collage showing, how their plants grew over time. And so with that assignment, we're teaching them about how to create a science visual. So like what kind of things need to go into creating a science visual. It's not just about making it artsy, but maybe you have a ruler next to your plant to give it more information on how tall it is. You should have like a plain background and have it be very, a professional picture that you could use, for example, in a publication. And then teaching them, okay, what about the caption of the Instagram post? Like how much information needs to go in there? You can't just say like, hey, pretty plant, what can you say on to this experiment that they've been running? So the what, when, where, why, the significance of the research, and put that all in the caption. So we're teaching them to create rich information on social media, and then hopefully also start to engage with their classmates. So encouraging them to go to someone else's Instagram post and see how their plant is growing, and maybe have a discussion of why is your plant not growing as fast as that person's plant?
Oh, wow.
And start having these discussions, and they start to realize there's a community here for them, in a way for them to engage with class content outside of the class.
Oh, so thank you so much, Leslie, for the comments. Yeah.
I think it's great for that. It's great for, Instagram is great for teaching not just the visual component, but it gives a pretty substantial room for a caption. So you can really start to teach students about science writing in a way that engages people.
Yeah, like we got lots of really good comments. People are loving everything you mentioned so far, Paige, which is amazing. And thank you, everyone. Elizabeth, and we have quite a few people joining us. Thank you so much for the comments. If you have any specific question, please do let us know. And I just love that example you shared. I was taking notes. It's like, oh yeah, this gives me some idea of how I can ask my students to use Instagram, kind of to document right. A journey, yes, which is like really good. Regardless what discipline you teach, there is a before and kind of in the middle and after the stage throughout the course of the semester. So that is a really great example. Yeah.
And Instagram kind of caters to that because it is a place where people get to do ongoing storytelling. So I mean, in your Instagram. Just like a blog. I mean, it's chronological and it kind of gears itself to people coming back and checking your updates. And so you can tell an ongoing story over time, and then kind of curate all that with a hashtag.
Yeah. So do you integrate, I know that we focus on Instagram, do you integrate this with like Twitter, for example, having like a class hashtag or cross post, or you only focus on using Instagram in the classroom?
Yeah, so in that particular example, students are supposed to use Twitter and Instagram, so for different purposes. But I think, we do try to encourage them to see that a lot of people, so if you look at like demographics of social media users, most social media users are using more than one platform anyway. And so I think it is important to just teach students that conversations are very fluid oftentimes. I mean, even for me, like I might start a conversation on Instagram and then ping that same person on Twitter and then email them later. And you start to see that it's not just about the platform, it's really about how we navigate all these different mediums to have ongoing conversations with people.
Oh yeah, we got a really great question from Leslie, who is also a teacher. She teaches a social media certification program, and she apologized for joining late, which is totally fine, no problem. And she asked, can you read the question? She asked, how do you address algorithm updates? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good question, because so Instagram has, just like Facebook, they have new algorithms where you don't see every single post. You're going to only start to see posts from people that you often like say this user, you often like their posts and you often engage with them. You're going to start to see more of their stuff and less of someone else that you don't engage with. And I mean, this is a struggle, especially for people who want to be kind of discovered by anyone. It leads to one of the biggest problems with any form of social media. It leads to that kind of echo chamber effect, where you start talking to only people that regularly engage with you. It starts to become like a very selective kind of bubble of people in your network. And that can be difficult. Some ways to get around that is to make sure that you reach out to people in your community. So if you post something new, tagging people that you might want to see it, or kind of regular interacting with a wide range of people can help you try to break outside of your bubble according to algorithms. But there's something really we can do other than, trying to engage with a variety of people so that we don't kind of get stuck in this one little corner of the internet.
Yes. Leslie mentioned, so frustrating, but keep us having jobs. That's right.
Yeah.
And I really, go ahead.
At least to talk to our students about that, though. So it's important that, probably a lot of students and not amateur social media users don't know that, and they might not understand why they're not getting any likes on their pictures, why they're not getting any engagement, and kind of talking to them about the fact that there are these algorithms and how can you reach people that might not be seeing your posts just because.
Yeah, definitely. And another comment and Leslie mentioned is that you can turn on notification. I do have notifications on certain people that I must check their content. So sometimes I just manually search their name to make sure I see their content. And in a way, because of those algorithms, and we can really control our content. The other day I was out and I was looking at my friends, her Facebook or Instagram is just people eating and puppy animals, but mine is all about social media education. It's very interesting, how based on what you interact, the people interact, the content you interact, and the content you can somehow control your content that way.
Yeah, it's great as an individual, the fact that we get all this customized content for us based on what we like to search. It's only for the professional users of social media that we think hey, we actually don't necessarily want that. We would rather have a large range of people see our stuff. But some of that you can't really control.
Yes. We have another amazing question coming from Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us, Lisa, and thank you for the question. And you can see the question here, and I didn't wear my glasses. And how, in order to work out with which Instagram post work best, how do you suggest us using the insights data, and how often do you check those? And yes, absolutely, there's a lot to learn. And can you please share with us, Paige?
Yeah. So I'm one of those people with my own personal social media in general. I'm not one of the type of people that very closely monitors analytics, only because it can be very frustrating. So, there can be times when a post that you want to get a bunch of likes and you want a bunch of people to see doesn't, and there's other times when something you don't even realize people are going to like gets a ton of likes and engagement. So, you can kind of look over time and see what types of things people are enjoying. So through the Instagram Insights, it's very similar to Facebook, but they might tell you which of your posts are getting the most likes and comments and engagement. So it's nice to see over time. Let's say we do a regular Monday inspiration feature and those always get a lot of engagement. We can kind of decide, hey, that's a really cool thing we're doing. People like it. We're going to keep going with that. You have to be kind of careful about posting something and let's say it just doesn't get the engagement that you wanted it to. it doesn't mean it's bad content. I mean, it could be that you just didn't really use a bunch of hashtags so no one really saw it. It could be that you posted it late at night and so people weren't really like on there and it just went down their feeds and they never got to see it. So, you know, and other times it could be one person who comments or reposts something that you posted and all of a sudden it's going crazy.
Yeah.
I also heard someone say, so, you know, on Instagram, like the top posts, or if you search a hashtag on Instagram, it'll have like a couple, like 6 posts that are the top posts with that hashtag and then all the others. So someone told me, and I found that it's true, it's not the number of likes that gets you to a top post, it's time to most likes. So the faster you can get likes, you'll end up with a top post.
Oh, wow, that's a great tip.
Yeah, that means that it's time of day is important. So if you're posting late at night and not a lot of people are seeing it, you're not going to get enough likes quickly enough to have your post in the top posts. So think about that too, and like it could be the time of day. So sometimes if there's something really important you want to share with people, don't be afraid to post it again. So let's say you can even archive it now and post it again the next day at a different time, maybe with a slightly different picture and the same message. And don't be afraid to do that because there's a lot of people that might not have seen it in the first place.
So do you mean that on Instagram you can like post the way you post on Twitter? Like, you know, on Twitter we just duplicate messages a lot. So you can do that on Instagram? Oh, wow.
I don't think you want to do it a whole lot, but you definitely can. So you could, like, if you have a very strong message, you can maybe choose a different picture and talk about it again. Or even, like, let's say if you posted it at night and just no one liked it, there's a way now you can archive posts, so you can make it so only you can see it, but it's still on your feed. And you could maybe try to post it again. You know, people it's not gonna aggravate people. But I wouldn't post more than like once or maybe at most twice a day. But now you have the Instagram stories, kind of like Snapchat, where you can post like disappearing things. And that, I mean, you could post again every 24 hours if you wanted to, if there was something you wanted people to keep seeing.
Yeah, and as we are talking about Instagram stories and live, do you same and do you give students assignments related to those things? How do you use Instagram lives and stories?
Yeah, so those are so new. I don't think we've really incorporated them into the classroom yet. Just because if you imagine for a professor trying to grade these things, it's very hard to grade something that's going to disappear 24 hours later. But when I just went into the classroom this semester to kind of give students a primer on how to use Instagram to share their science. And I did encourage them to check out the Instagram stories, to check out trying to tell, a story maybe about one day in the lab through a series of Instagram stories, and encouraging them to do those more ephemeral posts. Because I think that's a great way to tell stories and to put things out that you might not want to live out there forever, but it's cool enough that you want to share it for, like I said, 24 hours. So yes, we don't have a whole lot of students, as far as I know, like adults who are now using Instagram Live and stories, but I think increasingly we'll see that in the future. How that'll play out, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's great. I just noticed we got lots of comments from people, and we have one question here from Elizabeth, and she asked, how many hashtags should we use? And like, is there like too many or too few, or like, what's your approach?
So Instagram will only let you use 30 hashtags in a post, and I know this because I almost always max it out. So some people get aggravated with too many hashtags. A good way to get around that is that once you put your caption in, you can post your picture. And then if you comment on your own post with the hashtags, it's the same as if you put them in the post. So if that makes sense. So you can always make a comment on your own post with the hashtags, and that way it's not in the main caption, and it's not like it looks like you're just using way too many hashtags. But I mean, for the purpose of getting your stuff found, I think use as many as you can that you think are relevant. So I mean, if you have 10 relevant hashtags, like hashtag biology, hashtag SciComm, hashtag SciArt, because I just posted this science art thing. I mean, as many hashtags as you think are relevant to what you just posted, I would use them and go for it.
Yeah. I noticed, I want to ask you this, like, sometimes on Facebook, like when you share links from other sites and like when you post on your Facebook, the post section, and Facebook doesn't really promote because they don't like shares articles from other places. Is it the same thing as on Instagram? Because sometimes I saw people like post the links to their articles in the comment section, not in the caption. So is that the same reason, or do you know anything about this?
Yeah, so for work, for LSU College of Science, I very often do cross posts. So I'll post something on Instagram and I'll make it share to Facebook. So Facebook now, since they own Instagram, it actually integrates very well. When you share from Instagram to Facebook, the whole picture pops up, and even any links you put in there will be hyperlinked. So it actually looks pretty good. But sometimes, especially let's say if you put a bunch of hashtags in the main caption of your Instagram post, once I share it to Facebook, I might go to Facebook and just edit it a little bit because it doesn't make sense for all those hashtags really to be there for Facebook. So you can make it look a little bit better for Facebook so that it doesn't just look like you shared straight from Instagram.
Yeah.
That's why posting your hashtags in a comment can be nice, because then when you share to Facebook, it won't share the hashtags along with it.
Yeah, and we got this question. We kind of discussed hashtag, and does it matter in terms of engagement? If you can, like from Lisa, thank you for the question.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed that as far as like, does it make a difference? I don't think it makes a difference to how searchable your post is. And, it could make someone see that you have a comment and they go and they're like, oh, it's you commenting on your own thing. I don't know if that makes a difference. But I haven't noticed that it would make a big difference in terms of engagement.
Yeah. Most of the time I also use, many people mention that they use 30 hashtags. I'm definitely guilty of that. I just use it all. Sometimes I use it as a separate comment, so it doesn't look like so much. And I notice many people actually do that. Yeah. Are there any go ahead.
Well, just because, why not use them? Just because it's so, otherwise your posts really aren't searchable. So Instagram doesn't do something where I search forest and it pulls up pictures of forests. It's only going to pull up pictures of forests where someone hashtag forest. So these statistics are very important.
Yeah. We got a really, really great question from Zala. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a long question. So how do you talk about privacy and security with students when they are using Instagram? For example, I have had a few times that students were using Instagram live or stories during class or with someone without permission. So we have discussed this, but I have still seen it happen. How do you approach this? Or if it would happen to you, how would you approach this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The first part, students always seem to be concerned about privacy. So I always ask at the beginning of class. So I did this week when I went in to talk to students who were going to need to use Instagram as part of an assignment. I said, okay, raise your hands if you use Instagram. About 60-70% of the class raised their hand. I said, okay, raise your hand if you use your Instagram is private. You have a private account. And they almost all the same students raised their hand. So a lot of these students, especially young students, young people, have private Instagram accounts. And they don't necessarily want to make those public so that their professor can see. So I tell them, look, you have kind of two options. You could add your professor, so they can see your posts on your private account, but you might not like that. Or just another account that's public you'll use for science purposes. And so you'll see a lot of students create another account for class. That way they can put only the information they kind of want to be made public there, and you're not forcing them to give up any privacy. So I always, talk to students about that, make sure they understand the difference between a private account and a public account, and the fact that they have a choice here and how they're going to use it for the class. You might have a student who says, I just don't want to use social media. Maybe it's against some kind of cultural or religious norm for them, and you do have to work around that. And then you can still have them produce pictures and captions and just share it with you and their classmates and not have to post that on Instagram.
Yes. This is, if I can interrupt for a second, this is also what happened in my own teaching practices. Believe it or not, everyone, even though our students are digital natives, so many of them are anti-social media. They just don't want to be on social media. It is always shocking to me. I was like, why? Look at me. I'm crazy about social media. You are so much younger. So you really just have to work around that. I give students like alternative assignments or just like put everything into a Word document and give it to me. Even though you cannot lose the purpose, building community as we discussed earlier. But there are just some students, they just don't want to be online, whatsoever reasons. Right.
So there's ways to kind of work around that. And then as far as, I think anytime you incorporate social media into the classroom, you have to spend some amount of time talking about ethics and like etiquette. So I always have the discussion, if I'm using social media in the classroom, I always have the discussion of like how you should treat your classmates, rules that I have for being civil with their classmates and peers. And if you just remind them over and over and over that anything they post online is public. So I mean, they might have one audience in mind, their friend, but it could be someone else who sees it who gets offended, and some students, they don't even realize that the audience they see in their mind is not necessarily who's going to see the post. So spending some time talking about that, it's good for students to learn that anyway. Will help them hopefully not post things that is against someone's permission or posting pictures of someone without telling that person that they're doing it, that kind of thing. That's just ethically, it's on shaky ground.
I definitely agree with the self-esteem and like no confidence. They feel their content is not good enough. They don't want to discuss and share with the public. There's definitely that. And I saw a comment earlier. People love the assignment example you give earlier. Is there another example or another assignment that worked really well you want to share with us, given the interest of time, and then we can move on to next questions?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, there's other great ways to use Instagram. Another way that I saw a class use it was that they went to a museum as part of like a field trip for class. And they were kind of encouraged to use Instagram to share their experience on that field trip. So that was just kind of like a fun way. You kind of saw how all the students took pictures of their experience. But then it could also be a way to bring that back into the classroom. So let's say you had the students go on a field trip and take Instagram pictures. When you come back to the classroom the next week, you can say, okay, let's have a discussion. Why did this person post only pictures of the polar bear exhibit, but this person, what resonated with them was something else? You can start to have a discussion of the way different people see the world or see even the same thing and communicate it in very different ways. So I think it's always more powerful when you don't just have students do a social media assignment, you bring the discussion back into the classroom. So it makes full circle, and students they'll enjoy that a lot more. They'll see that like, hey, I'm not just producing garbage content. You're using it to engage with me more. That's definitely a great point. It's almost like digital storytelling. Almost not right now. I'm thinking students can even do this when we talk about class, when we lecture. If there is certain content that resonates with them strongly, they can even like take a picture of us or of our slides, create a quick use Adobe. I'm a huge fan of Adobe. Create a like picture and post it on hashtag, and then kind of like class reflection. By the end of the semester, you can have like class reflection journal of your takeaways. So that's really my mind is like, you're just so amazing. Please give Dr. Page some stars, some hearts. She's just like really amazing. I really love the conversation so far. Yes, and tools and like are there certain tools or apps that you use to create amazing images, visuals on Instagram? Please share with us. I'm definitely graphic challenged. I look at my own pictures like that is just not good, even with Adobe. So if you could share with us some tips like to help us become more graphically advanced, and that'd be great. Sure. So, well, I should mention right now I'm actually doing a social. Well, actually, I'm doing a research project on how scientists are using Instagram. And so, as a part of that, we've been producing a ton of content, like blog posts and different things that are sharing tips and tools for how to get better pictures and how to make better Instagram posts. So if you go to, and we full disclosure, we're crowdfunding this research, and the crowdfunding campaign ends today, but you can still go and look at our posts. So if you go to experiment.com/scientistselfies, it's a experiment.com, a crowdfunding page where we're raising funds to do this research. But as part of that, we've been producing a ton of blog posts about how to get better pictures and how to create better Instagram posts. So as far as tools, I love third-party apps for Instagram. I'm a huge photography junkie. So on my phone right now, I have like 2 apps that I use regularly to make my pictures look better. One is called Snapseed, and the other is called AfterLight. They're both just really powerful photo editing.
What is it called?
AfterLight.
Oh.
And Snapseed. So they do slightly different things, but they're both really great for editing photos. And then I love the app VSCO, or VSCO, and it lets you add filters to your pictures that kind of look like film quality.
Oh, wow.
I love it. It's just, they make your pictures look so pretty. So if you just kind of play with those apps a little bit, you'll start seeing how you can edit your pictures to make them look a little bit better. But I'd always say to first focus on composition. So get as good a picture as you can straight off of your phone, and then apply editing tools so that you can make that picture even better.
Do you know any scheduling tools that can help you schedule posts to Instagram? This is the only one I know.
So Instagram doesn't play nicely with scheduling apps. So even something like Hootsuite, if you schedule an Instagram post, you still have to go to an app on your phone to send it to Instagram. Because Instagram doesn't like third-party apps to post to its platform. It's very much built for just publishing through mobile. I recently found one app that you can use to publish pictures from your Mac or from your computer, and it's called Flume, Flume. And that's the only app I've seen where you can take a picture directly from your computer and use Flume to send it straight to Instagram, and it'll actually post it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I didn't know this. How many of you know this app? Type in the comments. I never heard of this.
It's hugely popular, but it works really well. I just hope Instagram doesn't find out and ban it from posting directly, because Instagram's kind of infamous for that, for not letting third-party apps post directly.
Oh, yeah. In the comment section, maybe after our chat today page, you can just type in all the apps, amazing tools you mentioned, so we can check. I can include in the blog recap. Yeah. And people are also sharing some really amazing tools and apps here. And some do you have some kind of tips to make image look okay? Or because you mentioned you seem to be a really good photographer?
Yes, I've been posting on my own blogs. If you go to fromthelabbench.com and then our experiment.com page, we have some tips for how to get better science photographs for Instagram. The biggest thing I have to say is that Instagram kind of breaks some photography rules, because you're looking at pictures on this really tiny device and people are scrolling fast. And so it lends itself to things that you can recognize in a second, that are just visually grabbing in one single glance. And so that tends to be your simpler images. If you've seen famous Instagram posts where it's just a really colorful wall and a person against a wall, nothing much in the background, you'll kind of see it looks like an Instagram picture, because it's simple, it's colorful, and it grabs your eye, even if you're going fast on your phone. So to focus on making your pictures simple, to decide what you want to be focused on. If you're taking a picture of a lizard outside, I mean, try not to get just back way away and get the whole scenery, but get closer to something, focus on just that one thing, and it'll be easier to see, and people will catch people's eye better on Instagram. It's something that has a lot of complexity to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I highly recommend everyone check out the blog post from the lab bench. Has really great content, and you can see the images, the blogs that Paige created, and Paige you have like 10K followers on Twitter, which is like super impressive. And you are the person who started this blog, right?
Yeah, that's
this blog. Yeah. That's amazing. So I highly recommend everyone to check it out. And we're fastly approaching to the end of our show, but we do have one comment from Mr. Goldling. I don't want to feel like we're ignoring him. He's talking about like we also need to inform our students of the danger of the internet. Don't like forget about the real life. And I don't think social media is isolating us. At least in my case, look, I'm in South Korea, so and Paige is in Louisiana. The reason we are connected is because of the social connection, because of the internet, this amazing community. And so I really think social media has that power to isolate us if you want it to be that way. At the same time, also has the potential to bring people together. And I'm sure when I meet you in person, Paige, I will just give you a big hug as if we were like close friends. And I really believe that that's the power of social media. Yeah. So I just want to comment on that so he doesn't feel like we're ignoring him.
Yeah, social media, I mean, has a different experience for everyone. It's a different experience for everyone. And there's definitely downsides to it. So I mean, even just the other day I was chatting to, I also have a big Instagram following for actually my acrobatics that I do. So I have like
saw those. You are amazing. Oh my God.
So, but I have a friend on there who's gotten really popular, and she started to get some cyberbullying. So she started to get people telling her mean things about her body image and that kind of thing. And so that's where you start seeing some of the negative aspects of social media, like trolling and people being mean to one another. And I really hate to see that part, you know. And I think that's the danger of getting a huge following, like becoming a celebrity on social media, is that you'll start getting some of these negative effects.
Yeah.
But for me personally, just having a smaller community of other scientists, if you build the right community around you, you'll probably get mostly positive things. And try to just avoid the negative things.
Yeah, that's a great topic, actually. Almost like a standalone topic, just talking about bullying and cybersecurity and social media, especially given how open we are nowadays. You know, like when I go on vacation, I tell people exactly how many days I will be gone from my home, whatever. But yes, that's a really great topic. So to kind of like finish up today, and thank you so much for the amazing tips, apps. Right, guys, I told you at the beginning, you are going to walk away from the show with tons of examples, best practices, and apps. I know I learned a lot. Definitely, I'm going to revisit the interview. And I want to ask you if there's any, like, if there's one project that you are working on right now, you are so fired up about, and you want to share with us what is that project and how we can help you to promote and whatever you are working on right now.
Yeah, so like I kind of mentioned, right now my big project that involves Instagram is a research study that I'm doing. It'll involve a series of experiments in the lab and online. We're going to be showing people, first students and then people just in general, we're going to be showing them pictures of scientists on Instagram. And different types of pictures, so sometimes it'll include the scientist's face, and sometimes it won't. And then we're going to measure people's perceptions of scientists. So we're kind of wanting to see if sharing your stuff, if a scientist sharing aspects of their own life on Instagram can help people see them as more warm and more human, and kind of what the impacts of that are. So for the last month, we've been crowdfunding that project on experiment.com. It's a specific site for crowdfunding science projects that I really like. So we're actually ending today, so it's the last chance, like in a few hours, to contribute to that project, but we already met our goal, so we're really excited. And we're going to be starting to conduct that research in the next semester.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Definitely keep me posted. I definitely want to know more about it. You are such a pioneer at using like social media, everything for science communication, and very amazing. And Natasha, thank you so much for joining. It's a very nice project. So we wish you the best. And lastly, one parting piece of advice regarding use Instagram as an educational tool you want to share with us before we let you go.
Yeah, one last tip. I mean, again, I think the power of social media, I always say this, is in interpersonal connections and like engagement with other people. And Instagram can be used to do that visually. So if you're using it in the classroom, think about how you could go beyond, again, just having students produce content that's just made for one-way communication, and think about how you can get students to talk to other students, how you can start to engage with your students. So, I mean, you could do Instagram live videos and have students tune in. But think about how you're making connections between people to deepen student learning. And I think you'll get more out of it than if you're just assigning, a content production assignment.
Yeah. And Zala mentioned such a great point, because I saw in the comments people are having like a storm of discussion about the pros and cons of social media. And I really think social media is like everything else. There is definitely pros and there are definitely tons of cons. That's why I think people need people like us, to educate students how to use social media, emotional intelligence, how to use social media responsibly and protecting themselves, all those things like how to use it to collaborate, to support each other, to spread our love and like compassion, humanity. Like Hurricane Harvey just like hit us. And it's nice to see how people are using live streaming to keep everyone updated, supporting each other. I know I have been like tweeting all of my friends and sharing support and asking for donation. It's really amazing to see those things. On the other hand, you see people being bullied online. I think this needs more, knowledge and education. Anyway, Thank you so much, Paige, for your time, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Everyone rocks. I know this time I used to host my show on my personal page. This is the first time that I host this on my public page, so it's a big change. Thank you so much for being here and checking us out. Sincerely appreciate. And next Wednesday, the same place, same time, we have another amazing guest, which is Becky, and she's going to talk about using Wikipedia in the classroom as an educational and teaching research tool. So I can't wait for that. And thank you so much, Paige. You are the best. And thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.